Everybody, it's an absolute pleasure to have you all here today, and I'm really excited and have been looking forward to this moment, especially throughout our busy conference. This is one of the coolest things that we get the opportunity to do.
Alex Stanak, First Delegation. How do you feel the decriminalization of marijuana and drug possession can affect the community positively?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the question was basically, how can the decriminalization of marijuana positively affect the community? So the issue that we're seeing in Pennsylvania today is basically you're having individuals who are as young as 18, 19, 20 years old being taken to prison for simple possession charges. But these possession charges are under mandatory minimum laws that exist today, automatically categorized as misdemeanors in most cases. And what you're having is you have these petty criminals who are often using the drugs strictly for consumption rather than receiving rehabilitation that they so desperately need, being sent to a prison where they become hardened criminals. And once they return, it becomes harder for them to find a job, to reintegrate themselves back into society, and the issue is they find themselves back into the prison system. So by decriminalizing the possession charges of marijuana, I believe that what we'll do is drastically decrease the prison rates for these low-level criminals and allow individuals, especially within low poverty areas, the ability to succeed, which is of the utmost importance to every single administration every single year. Thank you. Absolutely. So great question. So minimum wage. So a very hot topic issue across the nation, in fact, not just this Commonwealth, as you're seeing many states increase their minimum wage from the federally set $7.25. I might be mistaken, but I believe it was in the 1990s whenever the federal minimum wage was set to the $7.25 current standard, and currently it's at that same wage rate. And basically what you're having, what you're seeing is it has not been adjusted to inflation. So what you have is individuals being underpaid for work that they do deserve. I'm not pushing for aggressive legislation to $15, $16 an hour that you're seeing in certain states like New York or Washington, D.C., but rather a more livable wage such as $10.10 an hour or adjusted per the cost of living in the given area. So like within a Pittsburgh or within a Philadelphia, that would increase because of the expenses that are associated with living in a city. There are multiple bills within both the Gold House and Gold Senate chambers in which there's a proposed increase of the minimum wage. The administration is heavily pushing those bills right now as we speak, and hopefully we can get them passed, signed, and enacted in this model legislature.
Isabella Sacheski, East Shore Y. The reallocation of $2 billion to nuclear energy, are there any concerns you could think of that may come with that, and if so, what are they?
Yes, amazing question. So the question was, the administration is proposing a $2 billion transfer of subsidies towards fossil fuels currently, towards nuclear energy in Pennsylvania. And just before I get into your question about what the possible concerns are to that, because there definitely are some, I'd just like to talk about the issue a little bit more, if you guys don't mind. So nuclear energy within Pennsylvania is under direct threat because what you're having under the current federal administration is you're seeing dollars being put towards coal, natural gas, Marcellus shale, and what is happening is fossil fuel energy is cheaper than it ever was. And nuclear energy simply cannot keep up with the low prices. And what you're having is these nuclear facilities that the state has personally invested billions of dollars towards being gouged out and being viable to early shutdown. There are 3 nuclear reactors within Pennsylvania that are currently facing early shutdown by the year 2025. And so what this bill does is a current $6 billion, which are allocated towards fossil fuel subsidies within the state of Pennsylvania, is going to be, we're going to reapportioning $2 billion of those dollars towards nuclear energy to provide a more competitive energy market and a more diversified energy portfolio, not just for today. The concerns are definitely viable. The fact is, shale is providing jobs right now, and jobs are absolutely critical within the Commonwealth, but the issue is at what cost, and how long will these jobs last? 4 years, 10 years? There's a definite time limit, and what we must do is we must seek long-term solutions, which there are long-term solutions within renewable energy sources such as nuclear, such as solar power, such as geothermal, and biomass. There's so many new things that we need to be exploring as a Commonwealth rather than focusing upon older energies. And that's why, although we might take the hit within employment in the short term, in the long run, it not only will increase employment, but it'll also increase the environmental health of this great Commonwealth.
Kate Henning, you sure why? Why did you decide to focus on the topics in your budget specifically?
Yes, absolutely. So within the budget specifically, there were about 8 or so topics that were outlined. Just to reiterate a few. So one was, like the previous question was asking, allocation to money towards nuclear energy. Another thing that we had was the increase of the minimum wage. Women's health issues was another one. STEM education was another one. And basically, these issues were tackled specifically because these were the higher priority issues that we saw within the Commonwealth for the first time. These were things that we need to be looking to solve during this 73rd Youth in Government Model Legislature. In addition to this, oftentimes the funding for these kind of bills are misappropriated, and the funding sections written by legislatures is not exactly financially feasible and likely to actually be enacted within a state. So that's why we wanted to tackle those issues specifically, so that we could provide a better guideline for legislators to pass better bills on those specific issues, so that not only could they bring up and address the great purpose and the issue that they were solving, but also address any funding concerns that were there.
Julia Melnick, Obama delegation. How are you hoping to see your budget affect debate on the House and Senate floor?
Yes, so as a former